I still remember that night like a scar carved into my soul. The stadium roared, cameras flashed, the whole world was watching the pitch. But for me, the game didn't matter. For me, everything came down to one moment. The moment I had dreamed of my entire life. All I wanted was an autograph. Just a second of his time. A simple signature from my idol, Cristiano Ronaldo. The man whose posters covered my walls, whose goals I had replayed thousands of times, whose name I wore on my back like a badge of honor. I pushed through the crowd, clutching a marker and a jersey in my hands. My fingers shook, not from fear but from excitement. I was just a nobody, a kid from nowhere, and this was my one chance to stand face to face with greatness. I reached him. My heart pounded so loud I thought it would burst. "Mr. Ronaldo," I whispered, "could you sign this for me?" He turned. The cameras caught everything. His eyes, cold, sharp as if I was dirt beneath his boots. And then came the words. Words I will never forget. You don't deserve my signature. Look at you. Pathetic. You'll never be anybody." The stadium erupted in laughter. The crowd roared. Some people pulled out their phones, recording my humiliation. I froze. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it caved in. My whole life I had dreamed of this moment, and instead of a dream I was crushed. That moment changed everything. The man I admired became the man I hated. My hero turned into my enemy. I walked away with tears in my eyes, but fire in my veins. And in that fire, a vow was born. "Ronaldo, you humiliated me in front of millions. You crushed my dream as if it was nothing. Now I will crush your world, piece by piece. And when I'm done, the whole world will watch you fall. Because the day you broke me was the day my revenge was born." The videos went viral before I even got home. Clips of Ronaldo's words spread across every platform. Millions watched me standing there like a fool, clutching my jersey as he spat on my dream. The captions were merciless. "Loser fan gets roasted by Ronaldo. This guy thought he mattered. Imagine idolizing someone who hates you." I tried to ignore it. I turned off my phone, but the world doesn't stop just because you hide. By the next morning, my face was everywhere. Neighbors smirked when I passed by. Coworkers whispered behind my back. Even people I thought were friends sent me the video with laughing emojis. My little brother, he had always looked up to me, asked quietly at dinner, "Why did Ronaldo hate you so much?" I had no answer. My parents tried to comfort me, but I saw it in their eyes. Disappointment. Shame. One night, I made the mistake of scrolling through the comments. Thousands of strangers ripping me apart. Calling me a loser, a joke, worthless. The internet never forgets and it never forgives. That's when the depression came. I stopped going out. I stopped working. I stopped living. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard his voice again. "You'll never be anybody." But something else was growing inside me. A whisper. A thought. What if I could make him feel the same? What if I could take everything he valued, his respect, his legacy, his pride, and burn it to the ground? At first, it was just a fantasy. Me imagining headlines turning against him, the crowd laughing at him instead of me. I imagined him crumbling under the weight of humiliation. But the more I imagined it, the more it felt possible. That's when the obsession started. I began collecting everything about Ronaldo. Interviews. Training schedules. The way he moved, the people he trusted, the things he couldn't live without. I studied him not as a fan, but as a hunter. Because that's what I had become. Not a victim. Not a fan. A predator. He humiliated me before millions. Now I would do the same to him. But worse. Much worse. Revenge isn't about balance. It's about destruction. The first step was information. I spent hours online, buried in forums, fan groups, and gossip pages. I found every interview Ronaldo ever gave, every slip of the tongue, every story fans told about meeting him. Patterns emerged. For all his discipline, Ronaldo had weaknesses. He hated being mocked. He despised losing control of his image. His entire career was built not just on talent, but on the illusion of perfection. To the world, he wasn't just a player, he was a god. That meant my path was clear. I didn't need to hurt him physically. I needed to break the illusion. But how? I started small. Fake accounts on social media, posting doubts about his dedication. Planting seeds in forums. "Have you noticed how tired he looks?" Or, "Maybe he's not as loyal to his fans as people think." At first no one cared. But repetition is powerful. People began to notice. Next I studied his team, the fortress around him. His agent. His personal trainer. His PR people. The so-called untouchables that managed every step he took. I couldn't reach Ronaldo directly, but maybe I didn't need to. If I could slip a crack into his inner circle, everything else would fall apart. And then, my chance came. One night, while scrolling through a private fan group, I noticed a post from someone claiming to be just a driver, who sometimes worked events for Ronaldo's team. He complained about not being paid on time, about being treated like garbage. His bitterness oozed through every sentence. I messaged him. At first he ignored me, but I knew how to push. I told him I understood that I'd been humiliated by Ronaldo too. Slowly he opened up. He told me stories of Ronaldo's arrogance behind closed doors, of tantrums, of insults hurled at staff when cameras weren't around. And then he said something I'll never forget. You think Ronaldo's untouchable? No man. He's just careful. But I've seen enough to ruin him. Problem is, no one would believe me. That was it. My golden key. If no one believed him, maybe they would believe me. Together we could build something undeniable. A truth, or at least a version of it, strong enough to shatter the illusion. That night, lying in the dark, I smiled for the first time since the humiliation. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was war. The driver's words echoed in my head for days. I've seen enough to ruin him. That was all I needed. But words alone wouldn't be enough. I had to turn whispers into proof. So I met him. We sat in the back of a cheap bar, the kind of place no paparazzi would ever think to look. He was nervous, glancing around, chewing on his nails. I slid him a drink and asked him to tell me everything. And he did. The tantrums. The insults. The cold arrogance when the cameras were off. The way Ronaldo mocked poor fans, laughing about how desperate they were for his autograph. The way he shoved staff if they got in his way. He painted a picture of a man completely different from the idol the world worshipped. I recorded every word. But words weren't enough. People needed images. Videos. Proof. And that's when he gave me the jackpot. A file on his phone. A hidden clip he'd taken during an after-match party. Ronaldo, drunk, shouting at staff, throwing a glass across the room, screaming, "Without me you're nothing. I own this world." The man I saw in that video wasn't a god. He was a spoiled tyrant. And I knew, if the world saw this, everything would change. But I couldn't just leak it blindly. No, that would be stupid. Too easy to trace back. Too easy for his PR machine to bury. I had to play this like chess. So I built a story. Fake accounts. Anonymous leaks. A trail of whispers that all led to the same question. Is Ronaldo really the hero you think he is? I released the video in pieces. A short clip here, a muffled voice there. Just enough to spark curiosity. Fans debated. Media speculated. The illusion began to crack. And then, boom. The full clip dropped. The internet exploded. Headlines screamed, "Leaked video shows Ronaldo's dark side." Comment sections turned into battlefields. Some defended him, others called him a fraud. Sponsors began to ask questions. I sat in my dark room watching the chaos I had unleashed. My heart raced. My hands shook. This was the revenge I had dreamed of. But then, something I didn't expect happened. Instead of denying it, Ronaldo went silent. His PR team scrambled, but he himself didn't say a word. Days passed. The silence became louder than any statement. And in that silence, I felt it. He knew. He knew someone was coming for him. The war had just begun. The silence didn't last long. 3 days after the video dropped, my phone buzzed at 3:17 a.m. A known number. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity won. "Enjoying the spotlight?" a cold voice asked. Not Ronaldo's, but someone else's. Smooth, professional. The kind of voice that smiled without smiling. Before I could answer, they continued, "Delete everything. Stop now. Or you'll regret it." The line went dead. My chest tightened. They knew. Not just about the leak, they knew it was me. By sunrise my email was hacked. My social accounts, wiped. My anonymous trail wasn't as safe as I thought. They had people, money, reach. I was just a guy with a grudge. And then it got personal. 2 black SUVs parked across the street from my apartment. Every time I looked out the window, the same men in black coats sat inside, watching. Silent. Patient. Like hunters waiting for their prey to tire. I tried to shake it off, but fear grew with every passing hour. Was this revenge? No, this was warning. Ronaldo wasn't just sitting back. He was striking back. But here's the thing. Fear didn't kill my rage. It fed it. I wasn't backing down. Not after what he did to me. Not after the humiliation, the insult, the way he looked at me like I was trash. No. If he wanted war, I'd give him war. So I doubled down. More leaks. More dirt. Photos from parties, stories from ex-staff members. I spread it wide, across forums, across social feeds. And every piece of evidence pushed cracks deeper into his perfect image. But with each strike, he struck harder. My bank account? Frozen. My job? Suddenly terminated. My landlord? Evicting me without explanation. One by one, every piece of my life was ripped away. He wasn't just defending himself, he was destroying me brick by brick. And then came the final blow. My face was on the news. Suspect behind fake leaks identified. They painted me as a bitter ex-fan, obsessed, delusional. My name, my photo, my life, exposed to millions. I wasn't the hero exposing a fraud. I was the villain trying to take down a legend. And I knew exactly who was behind it. Cristiano Ronaldo hadn't just ignored me anymore. He had turned the whole world against me. But if he thought that would break me, he hadn't seen anything yet. Because now it wasn't just about revenge. It was about survival. The more they tried to bury me, the sharper my will became. I had nothing left. No job, no money, no reputation. They stripped me bare. But when you've got nothing to lose. That's when a man is most dangerous. I started digging deeper. Not in forums, not in tabloids. No, I went underground. Anonymous chats, whistleblowers, ex-employees who had been silenced. Piece by piece, I began collecting real evidence. Not rumors. Not gossip. Proof. And then I found it. Bank documents. Offshore accounts. Hidden contracts. Payments to make certain inconvenient stories disappear. A trail of money and silence stretching across countries. Ronaldo wasn't just arrogant. He was untouchable because he was protected by a machine. But every machine has a weak screw, and I found it. One name kept coming up. Alvarez. His fixer. The man who cleaned Ronaldo's messes, who paid off anyone that could threaten the empire. If Ronaldo was the face, Alvarez was the shadow. And shadows can be hunted. I tracked him. Weeks of waiting, sleepless nights, moving from place to place to avoid the SUVs still tailing me. Until one night I caught him. Lisbon. A quiet restaurant by the docks. No bodyguards, just business. I didn't attack. I didn't scream. I sat across from him, slid a folder onto the table. His eyes flickered. He knew what was inside before opening it. You bury me, I bury him, I said. Simple. Direct. Deadly. For the first time, the man who was supposed to be in control looked rattled. I didn't need to beat Ronaldo in the ring or on social media. I needed to cut his strings. And Alvarez was the string puller. That night I gave him a choice. Pull Ronaldo down yourself, or I go public, and when I do, I won't stop until the whole machine burns. 2 weeks later, the news broke. Not from me, from an anonymous insider. But I knew whose hands it came from. Alvarez sold him out to save himself. Headlines flashed across the world. Ronaldo tied to financial scandal. Investigations. Sponsors pulling back. Cameras outside his mansion. The perfect idol cracking under the weight of truth. And me? I watched from the shadows. Not a hero. Not a villain. Just a man who refused to stay silent after being humiliated. Did the world know it was me? No. Did I care? Not anymore. Because Ronaldo felt what I felt that day. Exposed. Mocked. Cornered. The cycle was complete. And as I stood on the empty street that night, breathing in the cool air, one thought burned in my mind. Revenge isn't about winning. It's about making sure the other person loses more than you ever did. And I had won.